I know you're scared. Yeah, I'd be too. If I were you. I know you're scared. I'd be too. If I were you. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game.
What's going on, everyone? We got Minnesota Vikings defensive tackle Harrison Phillips on the show today. Welcome to the show. I'm JJ Vikings, and it's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for agreeing to this.
No problem, man. Appreciate you having me on. I apologize for taking so long, but we're here now.
Hey, I mean, better late than never, right? You know, and it's a dream to do this with you because I remember the Vikings signing you when I was only like 11 years old, and now that I'm able to actually do a show with you, after all the good things you've done for the team so far, you know, it's absolutely amazing. And I want to start off by saying it seems like you got a great connection with a specific place called Omaha, Nebraska. You were born there, and you went to school there, Millard West High School, and you won the Nebraska Gatorade Football Player of the Year in Omaha, and then committed to Stanford University in college, and then you come into the NFL, play for the Buffalo Bills, which a team that I still have lots of respect for. You come to my favorite team, the Vikings, in March of 2022. You know, what's it been like? You know, what's this journey been like, and how did you kind of have your love for sports in general?
Yeah, man. Appreciate the question and appreciate your research. I guess I'll start at the beginning. I love Omaha. Omaha's awesome, man. It's where I met my wife, where all my friends are, my family is. Omaha's a great place, and I don't know how life is all going to go, but I definitely wouldn't mind ending up in Omaha and raising a family there. It's not too bad of a place to be. I guess my love of the sports. I think my family just introduced me to sports when I was really, really young. I think naturally I was just a really big kid, so I started wrestling when I was 3 years old. T-ball, soccer, gymnastics, football, basketball. I mean, every sport you could play, and just really fell in love with all the things that come with sports. It's not just the success on the field or the mat or the court or whatever it is. I think it's the camaraderie and the friendships that you build and the morals and character along the way. I mean, sports are really hard, and things are much more rewarding when you have to go through something to get them. And then I guess your last question is, what has it kind of just been like as a whole? All the things that we've accomplished. You don't really stop and smell the roses enough when you're on that journey. I think the journey is more important than the destination, and we get caught up in that so much that, time flies. I'm going to my 7th year in the NFL, and, I hope to play 14 years, but the reality of it is maybe I have less football in front of me than I have behind me. I mean, I still feel like I'm about to hit my prime and at a great place, but been playing football since I was 13 yees old or so. So been playing for 15 years. I don't have 15 more years after this, which is sad, but I'm appreciative of some of the great things that I've accomplished, but complacency is not really a word in my vocabulary. So I'm constantly focusing on the next goal that I have.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. And the fact that you played on the same team as one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and Josh Allen, also a guy that I've admired since I was only 10 years old, because I remember the 2020 season. It was kind of messy because, like no fans in the stands and stuff like that. But it was so awesome watching the Steelers, the Bills, and the Chiefs, all compete in the playoffs and stuff like that. That was absolutely awesome for me. And, Josh Allen, definitely a guy that I want to meet as well. Such a cool dude. And, yeah, that's awesome. And I'm about to mention quite a few stats. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
So in week 1 against the Packers of the 2022 season, you had 3 assisted tackles, including one when Aaron Rodgers threw a deep ball that was picked off by the other Harrison Smith, and also had what they call a half sack or a 0.5 sack, but I still call it a sack. In week 2 against the Eagles in 2022 on Monday Night Football, you were also part of the guys that pressured Andy Dalton in London in week 4 of 2022 against the Saints. And then against the Patriots on Thanksgiving night in week 12 of 2022, the Patriots tried a trick play where they pitched the ball to the receiver, Kendrick Bourne, and you and Zadarius Smith were there to make the stop. And then I now that we have Brian Flores as our defensive coordinator and seeing how much of a difference he's made, how do you feel, playing under such a greatly minded, wise, and incredible man and an incredible coach?
Yeah, he's been great. I didn't really have much overlap with Flo. I know he was in Miami when I was in Buffalo, but I didn't remember him specifically. But he got here and kind of just blew me out of the water at how advanced his scheme is and how much he's playing chess compared to checkers out there. And I think what he's done is he's taken a lot of players and elevated them to some of the best parts of their careers. Now, that's on some of the players themselves and some of the ways that KO is building our facility to be player friendly in a sense that it allows you to become the best version of yourself, and how you can do that. Bringing in mature professionals who know what they need to be the best version of themselves. And I think that's what I'm merging into my third season here in Minnesota under Brian Flores and his defense. There's a lot of versatility, and they're able to use my strengths, and my one of my best strengths is like my mental side of the game. How easily I'm able to pick up playbooks and checks and calling out offensive plays and personnels, and so I'm able to add a level of complexity amongst the defensive line in my communication skills and things like that to help everybody get on the same page when we're calling multiple plays and need to communicate. So it's been great to flourish in his defense.
I love that. I love that a lot. And I've always admired Brian Flores. I mean, the second he stepped into the building, I knew something would be special. I knew something special would occur. And I also have a unique question for you. Where did you get the nickname Horrible Harry or Harry the Horrible from? Because I know you're definitely not a horrible person. You're incredibly nice and such a cool, awesome guy. I think my guess is it comes from how quarterbacks are scared of you, so they'll call you Harry the Horrible or Horrible Harry. But I think it's actually a positive nickname. But you can go ahead and explain it to the fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of how it stuck. Originally, I don't know, you have to come up with like a Twitter handle or something. And my mother used to read me Horrible Harry children's book. There's a children's book series called The Horrible Harry, and he gets into a bunch of trouble and stuff. And one of the books is about when Horrible Harry found a snake at recess and brought it into school. And funny enough, I had done that at one point in my life. And so that's when the name first kind of stuck. And then when I started playing sports and wrestling and having success on the mat and on the football field, people would be like, "Oh, yep, there's Horrible Harry in the tournament again," and meaning that it's a horrible day for you if you got to wrestle me or line up in football against me. And so then my high school announcers and high school coaches started, on the PA system, they'd say Horrible Harry with the sack or the tackle, and then college got it, and now the NFL. So it's been cool to hear some announcers, yell Horrible Harry made the play. It's funny for sure.
That's awesome. And I also appreciate you guys for all the positive comments that I see in the chat so far. And if I'm not mistaken, you also had a fumble recovery in week 4 of 2022 in London against the Saints when Dalvin Tomlinson forced the ball out of Andy Dalton's hands, and then you picked it up. What was it like playing with Dalvin Tomlinson? It seems like he was not only a great lineman, but a nice guy to be around. Not only tough on the football field, but tough in life, handles things well, at least from what I can see. Definitely a guy that I wanted to meet while he was still in Minnesota, but, a guy that I have respect for as well.
Yeah, everyone should have respect for DT, man. He's a beast. What he does on the field is insane. I mean, he's one of the biggest presence on the defensive line in the entire National Football League, and you can see that in play, in his violence, and the way he's able to knock people off the ball. But the type of person he is, he's just a different character. I mean, you don't see a lot of people coming from the small town that he's from to accomplish all the amazing things that he's accomplished. He's had, some tragedy and some adversity in his life, and he's just answered the bell every single time and become a more mature, well-rounded individual for it. Very business mindset. I mean, this is a guy that's probably going to make more money off the field than he does on the field because he's such a good investor and good in business. And so I'm really excited for life after football for him, but it was a great blessing to have him alongside me on the defensive line. It made offensive lines focus their attention on him a little bit and singled me up a little bit, which was super fun and why I had some good production in 2022 because he's a big body, man.
Absolutely. He's a guy that we depended on to stop the run whenever they run up the middle. Like, no one wanted to run up the middle But whenever, unfortunately, at times he got injured, so they'd go right at us up the middle whenever they had the chance to without Dalvin Tomlinson there. But what I do want to ask you is, I've noticed while, of course, Eric Kendricks, also known as EK, was here, you had a huge connection with him. I've seen on the Vikings channel, you'd always mention some funny things about him, talk about him in really positive ways. And, it seems like you have a nice connection with him and might even be friends with him off the field, from what I can see.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. EK's a great friend of mine. It was tough to see him go. That's one of the parts about the business that sucks is you get so close with someone when you're breaking bread every day, you're sweating with them, bleeding with them. And then, it's a transactional business, so it happens. But, I think what he helped me so much because he was at, a little later stage in his career than I was when I first got here. And he's not that much older, but still he's accomplished more than I have in this league. And I think what I appreciated the most from him was his ability to let things go, an ability to kind of relax a little bit. I'm really tightly wound. If I have a bad play, I won't sleep very well at night. Some of the social media comments I remember back in my early days playing, I'd read and that messed with me. And EK was a big person that helped me just like, delete all that stuff. Don't look at any of that. Like, who you are. Like, bad plays happen to all of us. Look at this play where I messed up. We can laugh about it. We're all like grown men. And he was just really good for my mental. So, now that I'm, getting older and older in the league, I realize some of the advice that he gave me was awesome. And then, yeah, we golfed together in the off season. He's got a really funny swing. He's just a good guy. You'd want to hang out with him too.
absolutely. And ever since I was 6 years old, I started watching him when I was about 6 years old. So I know the feeling. I know how positive mentally he is and how great on the football field he is. And after watching him for about 7 to 8 years now, I know how much of an impact player he is, and it definitely was sad to see him go. I almost cried actually,
Yeah.
especially when he left, and then when Adam Thielen was gone, Dalvin Cook, like lots of the veterans, lots of the fan favorites, when they had to leave the team due to the business side of things, it stings. And I'm glad that we were able to rise up against it and have. Well, not everyone will see it as a good season, but I think 2023 in terms of production, especially from you, was a good season. And which leads me to the question: will the Vikings go far this year? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean it's super early. I love the off season because it gets a lot of interest and people want to ask questions and people are excited. And the reality of it is we're just kind of getting together, building camaraderie, basic rudimentary football knowledge. Training camp is more where that's forged. And so if you were to ask me in 6 weeks from now, I could give you a much better answer. But I would tell you that the vibe is very high. The vibe is really high in the building, and I've been a part and heard of, especially from some players who've been other places where you just have a bad vibe, even in the off season. Going into training camp, you're not optimistic. I mean, every team should be feeling pretty good, feeling pretty healthy, and saying, this could be our year. And that's what every team should be saying right now. I am very optimistic. I think that we've gotten better on defense, even with some of, amazing, talented people departing in the offseason. We brought in some great new additions that, again, with Flores's flexibility and ability to call games, might be able to help us a little bit more than last year. And then offensively, we were so unhealthy physically at the quarterback position that we're hoping with one of our healthy guys in there, all having another year of experience and competition in that room like crazy. I think we're going to be a very good team this season, and I'm really excited for the year.
Absolutely. And even if, JJ McCarthy doesn't get the chance to start, I still think that Sam Darnold can have a great year and lead the team to at least 10-7, considering the team that the front office has put together. I have all the respect in the world for Kwesi, for Kevin O'Connell. Those are some of my favorite guys in the whole world. Those are definitely some dream interviews right there. And some guys that, I respect a lot. I respect their business mindset. I respect how Kwesi, he handles the criticism so well. He definitely suffered some criticism from the 2022 NFL draft, passing up on Kyle Hamilton, but then he slowly got better and better and better. He got Andrew Van Ginkel, he got Jonathan Grenard, drafted JJ McCarthy, and then made the unbelievable trade and drafted Dallas Turner. What's it like playing on the same position as, well, not position, but on the same, like the D line like him, and watching him play? Because Christian Darrisaw mentioned that his spin move was faster than Danielle Hunter's. So, what are your thoughts on Dallas Turner so far? Because everyone seems to be so hyped about him.
Yeah, I think there's a reason to believe that. Now, like I told you before, we haven't been in pads yet, and there's a lot of growth to happen. And so, you never want to overpromise and underdeliver with a player. So, I'll keep some of my comments to myself, but I'm extremely high on him and think that he's done some incredible things. And I'm really pumped. He's so young. He's still a kid. I mean, he's young. And so, you talk about a guy who could be a cornerstone for your defense for decades. This is a player that you would hope to lean into, and so hoping that he took the off season very serious, as this is a very important time, and we'll finally get our hands in the dirt together and get real grimy here in just a couple weeks. But I'm really excited to have him on the line with us.
Absolutely, so am I. And has anyone ever mentioned to you how quick your reflexes are? Because I saw in Week 10 against the Saints of last year, 2023, where you moved to the right so quickly, or like moved across the line so quickly, which allowed Josh Metellus to have a clean lane to blitz from. What I think that is absolutely incredible reflexes and an incredible way to not only benefit from being on the line yourself, but also having the opportunity for someone else to blitz in terms of a guy like Josh Metellus. They call him Mr. Everything, Mr. No Excuses, Mr. Do It All. Played 13 positions, and I think the way you've cleared things up for him on the line has also helped him find lanes to blitz through and find ways to get to the quarterback in any way possible.
Yeah, man, there's been some fun times with Metellus. There's been some few times because, he's not used to always playing linebacker. So sometimes when he's in the box, I'll be in my stance and I'll turn around to him and be like, hey, this. I'll point out, like, this is where you want to go. This is where the ball's coming. Like, watch this double team. When he comes off, we have a great relationship. And, I guess to the reflexes part, oftentimes I'm banged up during the season. I try to keep things under wraps, but I have some type of nagging injury, a ligament strain, a broken something. There's always something. And sometimes that impedes my play. But if you go back and look at those combine numbers, I mean, I think I was top 3 in the all of defensive line for like short shuttle and L cone and some of those shorter change of direction stuff. So that's definitely more my game. Quick slants and shedding blocks to get TFLs and stuff like that. So it's been fun to try to use some of that quickness in this defense that would free up guys like Metellus or Hicks or IP. And I even in the offseason meetings, there was something on my paper. What I needed to improve on was to be a more selfish player, because so many times I'll call games or run stunts to try to occupy blockers so that my buddies can go be free. And I'll try to, grab this guard and this center so that somebody else can go be free. And so some of my coaches are like, hey, there's still some plays out there for you to make if you want to, be a little more selfish. So it's funny, but yeah, man, Josh is a beast.
I know he is, and his stats prove it, and he is massively underrated. And as a matter of fact, so are you. And another question, this time it's from a fan. So it says from an account named Noble War Prize. Mm-hmm. Harrison, as a former stud wrestler, if anyone, who could take you down on the team?
No one could take me down on the team. But I said if anyone, so pretty much who am I giving the second place best wrestler on the team award to? It's a good question. I know that Blake Brandel and Garrett Bradbury had been in Arizona seeing a jiu-jitsu guy for a while. I'm excited for that. We grappled a little bit to show him who's boss, but I know they have some experience. I know IP's wrestled a little bit before. Metellus has wrestled a little bit before. You'd have to give it to a big guy, though. I don't know. CD would be a tough one coming at you. You got to go low, hit an outside single pretty quick on him. I've actually, as Minnesota podcast with a lot of Minnesota followers, I've been training with Gable Stevenson a little bit, the Olympic champion wrestler from Apple Valley High School, and I've been helping teaching him some D-line drills, but he and I, each time we get there, we want to roll out a mat and see who's the real big badass of Minnesota,
Of course. And here's a personal question. Do you hang out with Dalton Reisner often? Because I love that guy. He's like the nicest guy in the world. He says that he likes to get Chipotle with his fellow linemen, and he likes to hang out with linemen in general. So I was wondering if you were one of those guys, because you guys are both incredibly nice people. You guys both benefit the Vikings, and you guys seem to have a lot in common. I could be wrong, but that's what it seems like for me.
Yeah, funny enough, Dalton and I have been friends for probably 12 years, 11 years or so. We played together when we were like 17 years old in the high school All-American game, and really took a liking to each other. I was considering going to K-State. He was committed there. We exchanged numbers and have had each other's numbers ever since. So kind of been fans of each other's. When he was in Denver and I was in Buffalo after a game, we jersey swapped. So I have his Denver Broncos jersey. He has my Buffalo Bills jersey. Speaking about hanging out specifically, Minneapolis is so spread out. He got here in the middle of a season, and you don't really hang out much when you're so far spread out. I think we live 30 minutes apart. Then the off season came, and people get out of here so quickly, and he didn't know if he was coming back and all that. So we haven't hung out as much as I probably thought that we would have, being buddies for these years. But yeah, man, he's a total camaraderie guy, total people's people, wants to be around the crew, and our lockers are next to each other, so almost every day we get to hang out next to each other.
That's awesome. And I wanted to thank you so much for agreeing to this, and of course the fans as always for watching. And I hope you win the Walter Payton Man of the Year this year. You definitely deserve it. Definitely a great guy off the field. You've been doing a lot for people off the field, whether it's hospitals or charity work or things that can help the community in any way possible. You're the right guy to do that. You're an absolutely awesome guy to do that. And I wanted to thank you for that, for coming on to the show. And you have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You're the best.
Of course, you too. Skol Vikes.
Skol.